Welcome to the Menu Planning Learning module, developed by Vatan Parast Nutritional Epidemiology Lab at the University of Saskatchewan's College of Pharmacy and Nutrition. Thank you to the Public Health Nutritionists of Saskatchewan for providing valuable feedback. This learning module was developed for use by Healthy Start Départ Santé, and we would like to acknowledge our partners, Réseau Santé en Français de la Saskatchewan, the Government of Saskatchewan's Ministry of Education and Ministry of Health, and Centre de Formation Médicale du Nouveau-Brunswick. Thank you to our funders, the Community Initiatives Fund and Nutrien. This learning module will provide staff at early learning facilities an overview of how to plan a nutritious cycle menu for early years children. For more information, visit Health Canada's website on Eating Well with Canada's Food Guide. At the end of this learning module, you will be able to plan cycle menus, tell when a food belongs to a food group or is a food to limit, and make healthy snacks. Make healthy choices by reading ingredients lists and nutrition facts tables. Calculate servings based on Canada's Food Guide and understand the difference between portions and servings. See if your menu meets provincial and Head Start guidelines for healthy eating in early learning facilities. Plan healthy meals as per your budget. A cycle menu is made for a certain length of time before it can be repeated. An ideal cycle menu is mainly 4 weeks long, provides a variety of food, offers children food with different colors, textures, and shapes, and is repeated 3 times per each of the 4 seasons. Seasonal menus let you use fresh vegetables and fruit per the season, offer children different and new foods, can be less expensive, and let you talk about farming and gardening. Try talking to children about where food comes from and how it is grown. This table shows us seasonal vegetables and fruit in Saskatchewan. Other considerations for cycle menus include adjusting menus for cultural reasons, for example vegetarian, halal, or kosher needs. Include details on posted menus so parents know what their children are being offered and menus can be reviewed. Leave room on planned menus to be flexible in case food is unavailable or on sale. Substitute items from the same food group. The Saskatchewan Child Care Licensing Manual's nutrition guidelines indicate that breakfast should consist of 3 or more food groups, lunch should consist of all 4 food groups, and snacks should consist of 2 or more food groups, including 1 serving of vegetables and fruit. Milk should be offered at least twice a day, and juice, if offered, is 100% sweetened and offered no more than 3 times a week, and water is offered for thirst throughout the day. Food to limit, if offered, is offered no more than 3 times a week and is in addition to food groups. The New Brunswick Child Daycare Facilities Operator Standards Nutrition Guidelines indicate that snacks should consist of 2 or more food groups, while meals should consist of all 4 food groups. Milk should be undiluted and offered at least twice a day, and juice should be 100% unsweetened. The Aboriginal Head Start on Reserve Nutrition Guidelines indicate that breakfast should consist of 3 or more food groups, lunch consists of all 4 food groups, and snacks should consist of 3 or more food groups. It is also mentioned that you may want to follow your provincial nutrition standards for early learning facilities. This next section covers what it means to offer children a healthy eating environment. Keep mealtimes fun and enjoyable without distractions such as televisions and toys. Try not to argue or be controlling. Eat meals family style with serving on the table. Let children serve themselves. Furniture and utensils should be the right size for children. Remember that children look up to adults. Caregivers should be encouraged to sit and eat with children at a table and model healthy behaviors. Talk to children about their day. Children should be allowed plenty of time to eat. For example, if needed, 20 to 30 minutes for a meal and 15 to 20 minutes for a snack. Follow the link for a short video on healthy eating environments. To help children develop healthy eating behaviors, children should not be pressured to eat specific kinds or amounts of food or some foods before others. This can result in a negative relationship with food and eating. Children have smaller stomachs than adults, so often need smaller portions offered more often. This is why it is important to offer snacks between meals and to offer meals and snacks on a regular schedule. The caregiver provides the where and when to eat, while the child decides whether to eat and how much. Do not use food to calm a child as a reward or punishment. This can alter their view of food and can lead to children eating based on their mood instead of hunger. Let's go through an activity to promote a positive relationship with food and eating. It will be important to keep in mind the division of responsibility, whereby adults provide what to eat and when, and children decide whether to eat and how much. Jillian asks for more bread, but you notice she did not yet eat her vegetables. What is the best way to respond to this situation? Let Jillian have more bread if everyone has already had a first helping and there is enough for her to have seconds. Having vegetables on the table is beneficial even if they are not eaten at every meal. Eating family style results in children serving themselves age-appropriate servings and eating an appropriate amount. They also end up trying new foods more quickly if they see others eating and enjoying those foods. Be a positive role model. Eat your own vegetables and talk about them in a positive way. For example, how they are grown or their color. If you are refusing Jillian more bread, you are controlling the how of what she eats. Restricting some foods may lead to overeating. Do not force, pressure, bribe, coerce, or trick Jillian into eating her vegetables. This can cause children to eat less. All these things can lead to children feeling bad about themselves, and mealtime will not be pleasant for anyone. Benjamin did not eat much lunch, but still wants dessert. What is the best way to respond to this situation? Let Benjamin have dessert. Children need to be offered vegetables and fruit at every meal and snack, although they do not need to eat them. If offering dessert, offer only one portion per child at the same time as the meal. Children get to choose what to eat when they are ready, even if they choose not to eat any of the food, and it does not promote one food as a reward for another. Do not make a big deal about dessert. Do not tell Benjamin that if he eats his lunch, then he can have dessert. This makes it seem like dessert is a more wanted item than the others and can hurt a child's relationship with food. Restricting a food may make a child want it more. Mohammed wants cereal for breakfast even though everyone else is offered toast. What is the best way to respond to this situation? Offer a variety of foods from different food groups at every meal, including something that you know the child usually eats. If Mohammed does not want cereal, he can have, for example, the fruit that is offered at breakfast that day. Do not prepare different foods at a time for children whenever they ask. You should not feel like you are a cook at a restaurant. Do not worry, we want them to eat enough food, but if children are hungry, they will eat. Mohammed will get the nutrients he needs over a period of time. It is not about how much is eaten, but that he can make the choices about what to eat. Nuta does not want to try the bean salad. What is the best way to respond to this situation? When offering new foods, offer familiar foods as well. Model positive behaviors by eating and enjoying the bean salad yourself. Encourage Nuta to have a taste, but do not pressure her. Learning to like new foods does not only involve taste. Let children see, smell, and touch new foods. If a child tries the food and goes to spit it out, use the time to teach table manners and have the child discreetly spit it out in a napkin. Sometimes children need to be presented with new foods multiple times before they accept them. Even if a child has eaten the food before, they may not eat it every time it is offered. So keep offering the food and model healthy behaviors. Involving children in food preparation. Make children feel part of the team by involving them in food preparation, which increases their willingness to try new food and builds their food handling skills. We've included a table of examples of age-appropriate food preparation tasks for children. Children 2 years of age can help scrub vegetables and fruit, rinse and tear lettuce greens, wipe tabletops, break broccoli into florets. Children 3 years of age can knead and shape dough, mash soft food with a fork, Mix batter with a large spoon and throw waste into the garbage bin. Children 4 years of age can measure using measuring cups, peel oranges and hard-boiled eggs, cut soft food with a plastic knife, and set and clear the table. Children 5 years of age can grate food with a plastic grater, scoop seeds out of a pumpkin, shell peas, and wash dishes. We will now provide an overview of food groups according to Eating Well with Canada's Food Guide. What is the difference between servings and portions? Servings are based on Canada's Food Guide. They have specific reference values for each type of food according to food groups. For example, a serving of raw leafy greens is approximately 1 cup or 250 milliliters, while a serving of most other raw vegetables and fruit is half a cup or 125 milliliters. So for portions, they can be variable. They're typically the amount a person would consume in one sitting. Terms to describe a portion can include a piece, a slice, or a scoop, and generally they're used when dividing up a recipe based on the number of people you would like the recipe to serve. When offering items from the vegetables and fruit food group, offer dark green and orange vegetables every day. Offer vegetables and fruit prepared with little or no added fat, sugar, or salt. And have whole vegetables and fruit more often than juice. What does a serving size of vegetables and fruit look like? For raw leafy greens, it is approximately 1 cup or the size of a baseball, whereas most other vegetables and fruit can be considered as half a cup for a serving size, which is approximately 1 hockey puck. This table includes examples of vegetables and fruit most often times. In the most often category, we have frozen vegetables and fruit prepared with added fat, sugar, salt, or acid, homemade low-fat and low-sodium soup, and sweetened sauce. In the sometimes category, we have fresh, frozen, or canned vegetable and fruit with added salt, sugar, fat, or sauces, fruit canned in water, juice, or light syrup, canned soup low in sodium, 100% unsweetened juice, and unsweetened dried fruit. Remember that for choose sometimes vegetables and fruit, they have 5 fats, 2 grams of saturated fat or less, 300 milligrams of sodium or less, and sugars should not be the first ingredient. Let's take a look at grain products. Canada's Food Guide recommends that at least half of the grain products offered each day should be whole grain. Offer products lower in fat, sugar, and salt, and a variety of products should be provided. What does a serving size of grain products look like? It can be a slice of bread, half a bagel, half a pita, or half a tortilla. To visualize this, we can look at about the size of our hand. For hot cereal, it is 3/4 of a cup, or the size of a tennis ball. For baked bannock, it is about the size of a deck of cards, and for cooked rice or pasta, it is approximately half a cup or a hockey puck. In this table, we have examples of grain products to offer most often and sometimes. In the most often category, we have whole grain bread, naan, tortillas, roti, baked bannock, injera, pitas, bagels, cornbread, chapati, brown or wild rice, quinoa, bulgur, rye, frike, buckwheat, whole grain barley, amaranth, whole grain pasta, whole grain unsweetened hot or cold cereal, or low sugar cereals. In the sometimes category, we have enriched white bread, naan, tortillas, roti, eba, bannock, injera, pitas, bagels, chapati, scones, muffins, pancakes, waffles, loaves, sweetened hot or cold cereal, enriched pasta, white rice, plain popcorn, rice cakes, and crackers. Remember, for the choose sometimes grain products, they should have 7 grams of fat or less, 2 grams of saturated fat or less, 400 milligrams of sodium or less, and 12 grams of sugars or less. And sugar should not be the first ingredient. Let's now look at milk and alternatives. For children under 2 years of age, breast or homogenized milk should be provided. For children 2 years of age and older, fluid milk, such as skim 1% or 2% or fortified soy beverages should be offered twice a day for optimal vitamin D. What does a serving size of milk and alternatives look like? For milk or fortified soy beverages, it is about 1 cup or the size of your fist. For cheese, it is 50 grams or 1.5 ounces, the approximate size of 2 erasers. For yogurt, it is 3/4 of a cup or the size of a tennis ball. This table lists examples of milk and alternatives to serve most often and sometimes. In the most often category, we have fluid, evaporated, and powdered milk, which includes skim 1% and 2% varieties. There's also plain unsweetened yogurt, fortified unflavored soy beverages, plain kefir, and milk-based soups that are low in fat and sodium. In the sometimes category, we have homogenized milk, except for children under 2 years of age who should be offered homogenized milk. In the sometimes category, we also have flavored yogurt and yogurt beverages, including kefir. There's also flavored milk and soy beverages, as long as they're fortified. There's cheese, paneer, and cottage cheese, and pudding and hot chocolate made with milk. For those items in the choose sometimes alternatives category, they should have 10 grams of fat or less, 0.5 grams of trans fat or less, 350 milligrams of sodium or less, 25 grams of sugars or less, and 10% of the daily value of calcium or more. You may come across children with lactose intolerance. Lactose is a sugar found in milk products. Lactose intolerance is when your body does not produce enough lactase enzyme to break down that type of sugar. This can result in gas, bloating, nausea, cramps, diarrhea, and weight loss in children. For children with lactose intolerance, try lactose-free milk or fortified soy beverages if they are above the age of 2 years. People with lactose intolerance can often still have hard cheeses and yogurt. Dark green leafy vegetables such as romaine lettuce and spinach have lots of calcium, and fatty fish such as tuna and salmon are high in vitamin D. Let's review meat and alternatives. Offer meat alternatives such as beans, lentils, and tofu often. Often lean meat and alternatives prepared with little or no added fat or salt, and offer fish at least once a week. What does a serving size of meat and alternatives look like? For cooked fish, poultry, and meat, it is 75 grams or 2.5 ounces, approximately the size of a deck of cards. For cooked legumes, it is 3/4 of a cup or a tennis ball. The same thing goes for tofu, it is 3/4 of a cup or 1 tennis ball. For nut butters, such as peanut butter, it is approximately 2 tablespoons or 1 golf ball. For nuts and seeds, it is 1/4 cup, approximately 2 golf balls. This table lists examples of meat and alternatives to serve most often and sometimes. In the most often list, we have roasted, baked, grilled, poultry, seafood, beef, pork, or lamb, eggs prepared with little added fat, tofu and soy-based alternatives, extra lean and lean ground meat, cooked lentils, beans, and peas, wild meat if butchered in an approved facility, fish canned in water such as tuna, salmon, sardines, and crab, nuts, seeds, and nut butters without added salt and sugar. In the sometimes category, we have fish canned in oil, medium or high fat ground meats, nuts, seeds, and nut butters that are salted or sweetened, breaded meat, poultry, and fish, lean deli meat, such as ham, turkey, etc., and canned beans and beans in sauce. The items in the choose sometimes meat and alternatives category should have 15 grams of fat or less, 5 grams of saturated fat or less, 0.5 grams of trans fat or less, 450 milligrams of sodium or less, 5 grams of protein or more, and sugar should not be the first ingredient. Offer food and beverages to serve most often and sometimes, as these items are lower in fat, sugar, and salt. If offered, foods to limit should be in addition to food groups, as they do not count as a food group serving. Some examples of foods to limit include French fries and other fried vegetables, pickles and other pickled vegetables, high-sodium soups, vegetables with high-fat cream sauces, fruit drinks, cocktails, or punches, real fruit gummies, fruit crisps or pies, processed cheese products including slices and spreads, pudding cups, milkshakes, ice cream, frozen yogurt, chips, graham crackers or wafers, cookies, donuts, fry bread, fried bannock, sweetened cereal, microwave popcorn, granola bars, deep-fried battered fish, deep-fried meat, corn dogs, bacon, chicken nuggets, fingers and patties, processed meat such as hot dogs, sausage, and some sandwich meat. Let's talk about snacks. The early years are a developmental stage where sufficient amounts of nutrients and energy are required. Offer 3 meals each day and snacks in between because children's small stomachs cannot hold a lot of food at one time. Snacks should be provided 1.5 to 2 hours before or after meals so as not to ruin their appetites for meal times. Saskatchewan guidelines say that snacks should consist of at least 2 food groups, one of which should be from the vegetables and fruit food group. New Brunswick guidelines say that snacks should consist of 2 or more food groups, and Head Start guidelines say that snacks should consist of at least 3 food groups. To make healthy snacks, mix and match items from the food groups below. Be sure to include something from the vegetables and fruit food group. We will now have an activity. We will practice placing the following food items in the correct Canada's Food Guide food groups. Then put them in the serve most often and serve sometimes categories. Here is our first example. Place each item in the correct Canada's Food Guide food group. You should have found that spinach and corn belong in the vegetables and fruit food group. Low sugar cereal is a grain product, and chocolate milk belongs with the milk and alternatives. Remember that granola bars and chicken strips belong in the foods to limit category. Now, let's put each item from the food groups in the serve most often or serve sometimes categories. Spinach and corn are served most often vegetables, and low sugar cereal is a serve most often grain product. Chocolate milk is a serve sometimes milk and alternative. Let's try another example. Place each item in the correct Canada's Food Guide food group. You should have found that guavas and potatoes belong in the vegetables and fruit food group. Baked bannock is a grain product. Fortified soy beverage is a milk and alternative. And peanut butter with added sugar and salt is a meat and alternative. Graham crackers are like cookies, so they belong in the foods to limit category. Now let's put each item from the food groups in the serve most often or serve sometimes categories. Guavas, potatoes, baked bannock, and fortified soy beverages belong in the serve most often category, whereas peanut butter with added sugar and salt is a serve sometimes food. Here is another example. Let's place each item in the correct Canada's Food Guide food group. Papayas and okra belong in the vegetables and fruit food group. Plain unsweetened yogurt is a milk and alternative, and eggs are a meat and alternative. Hot dogs and cheese slices are foods to limit. Now, let's put each item in a food group in the serve most often or serve sometimes categories. Papaya, okra, plain unsweetened yogurt, and eggs are all served most often foods. Let's try one more example. Place each item in the correct Canada's Food Guide food group. Muffins and loaves are grain products, but be careful because some muffins and loaves, mainly those we buy from stores or restaurants, can be high in sugar and so are foods to limit. The other items, such as breakfast cookies, croissants, kids' health bars, and fruity O's, all belong in the foods to limit category. We have to be careful with these because to sell things, some companies use fancy words to make us think it is healthy. For example, a breakfast cookie is still a cookie and a kid's health bar is still a granola bar. These items are high in sugar and so are foods to limit. Some cereals are also very high in sugar and so are foods to limit, not grain products. Now, let's put the grain product items in the serve most often or serve sometimes category. Both muffins and loaves are serve sometimes grain products. Not all foods are created equally. As you saw with the previous examples, some muffins are healthy and some are basically cake. This can be true of many food items in the food groups. Try involving children in making foods so everyone knows that healthy ingredients have been used. To evaluate menus from early learning facilities, we cannot tell by the word muffin if it is a healthy muffin or more like cake, so we have to make some assumptions. We follow Canada's Food Guide and this learning module when assessing if a food item on a menu belongs to a food group or is a food to limit. Food items in the grain products food group can be the most difficult to assess. We will consider that all cookies, including graham wafers, and all granola bars are foods to limit. We will also consider that all muffins, loaves, pancakes, etc., and all crackers, and some cereals, depending on the sugar content, will be considered grain products. Let's do a different activity. In the following slides, identify what food group is missing from lunch. This example of a lunch contains a glass of milk and tuna salad sandwich with cheddar cheese on white bread. What food group is missing? That's right, the vegetables and fruit food group is missing from this lunch. The white bread from the sandwich counts as a grain product, the glass of milk counts as a milk and alternative, and the cheddar cheese counts as a milk and alternative, and the tuna from the sandwich counts as a meat and alternative. This lunch example consists of a grilled chicken breast, side of carrots, and a side of beans with an apple and milk to drink. What food group is missing? That's right, a grain product has not been offered in this lunch example. The apple counts as a vegetable and fruit, the carrots count as a vegetable and fruit, and the milk is a milk and alternative, and both the beans and chicken belong in the meat and alternatives category. In this lunch example, we have a goosey, an African dish of spinach, and in this example, turkey, with an egg and plantain. What food group is missing? There are actually two food groups missing from this lunch example, and that would be grain products and milk and alternatives. The spinach from the agouti counts towards the vegetables and fruit food group. The plantain counts as vegetables and fruit. The egg counts towards the meat and alternatives food group, as does the turkey. This lunch consists of chicken breast, mashed potatoes, and corn. What food group is missing? In this example, we have two food groups missing from lunch, grain products and milk and alternatives. Both the potatoes and corn belong in the vegetables and fruit food group, and the chicken is a meat and alternative. This next section covers how to calculate servings. Now that we have covered serving sizes and food groups, let us practice putting food items from a sample menu into food groups. Then find out what to do when we have a mixed meal. We will take a look at a recipe to find out. This activity helps us take a usual amount of food served, or a portion, and compare it to Canada's Food Guide food group servings. This way we can make sure that our menus meet guidelines. Take a minute to calculate servings from a sample menu. Let's go through this table together. For breakfast, we have half a cup of milk, which counts as half a serving of milk and alternatives. 1 slice of whole grain toast counts as 1 grain product, and half a banana counts as half a serving of vegetables and fruit. In order to meet guidelines, we have to have offered at least half of a food guide serving. Therefore, for breakfast, we meet guidelines as we have a serving from 3 food groups. For morning snack, we have half a cup of apple slices, which counts as 1 serving of vegetables and fruit, and the 15 grams of crackers counts as half a serving of grain products. We've offered food from 2 food groups, including 1 that's a vegetable and fruit. Therefore, we've met guidelines for snack. At lunch, we have a tuna sandwich, which includes 1 slice of bread, which is a grain product, a 1/4 cup of tuna, which counts as half a serving of meat and alternatives. The mayo is not a food group. A 1/4 cup of carrots counts as half a serving of vegetables and fruit, and half a cup of milk counts as half a serving of milk and alternatives. At lunch, we have a food item from all 4 food groups, so we've met the guidelines. At snack, in the afternoon, we have a 1/4 cup of snap peas, which counts as half a serving of vegetables and fruit, and half a cup of hummus counts 3/4 of a serving of meat and alternatives. We have 2 different food groups, including 1 serving of vegetables and fruit from the stack in the afternoon. Therefore, we've met guidelines. For your reference, we have included a list of common metric conversions for recipe planning. Here are some tips for calculating servings from recipes. To calculate servings, first make sure the units, for example milliliters, are the same as the Canada's Food Guide servings. You can convert pounds of meat to grams if needed. Take the amount of the ingredient in the recipe and divide it by Canada's Food Guide servings, which is available at the following link. Then divide that by the number of people you want the recipe to feed. This is the amount per person the recipe serves. Guidelines state that a child should be offered at least half a Canada's Food Guide serving. Let's calculate servings from a recipe. Listed below are ingredients from a moose stew that serves 12. First, we need to calculate the food group servings in the recipe. Let's do this 1 item at a time. How many servings of meat and alternatives are in 1.5 pounds of moose meat? First, we will convert pounds to grams for an easier conversion. Our conversion factor is that 1 pound equals 454 grams. Therefore, 1.5 pounds of moose meat multiplied by 454 grams per 1 pound equals 681 grams of moose meat. From Canada's Food Guide, we know that 1 serving of meat is 75 grams. Therefore, 681 grams of moose meat divided by 75 grams per serving equals 9 servings of meat and alternatives. How many servings of grain products are in a 1/4 cup of flour? We do not need to calculate servings for items like the flour in this recipe. Such items are used in small amounts to help make the recipe and are not main ingredients, so will not be a significant amount of servings. Since margarine and water do not belong to a food group, there are no calculations to be done. How many servings of vegetables and fruit are in 3 large carrots? From Canada's Food Guide, we know that 1 serving of carrots is 1 large carrot, or half a cup, or 125 milliliters. Therefore, 3 large carrots divided by 1 large carrot per serving equals 3 servings of vegetables and fruit. How many servings of vegetables and fruit are in 3 medium potatoes? From Canada's Food Guide, we know that 1 serving of potatoes is half a cup, 125 milliliters, or half of a medium potato. Therefore, 3 medium potatoes divided by half a medium potato per serving equals 6 servings of vegetables and fruit. How many servings of vegetables and fruit are in 2 stalks of celery? From Canada's Food Guide, we know that 1 serving of celery is half a cup, 125 milliliters, or 1 medium stalk. Therefore, 2 stalks of celery divided by 1 stalk of celery per serving equals 2 servings of vegetables and fruit. How many servings of vegetables and fruit are in 1 medium onion? From Canada's Food Guide, we know that 1 serving of vegetables is half a cup, or 125 milliliters. An onion is approximately 1 cup, and so 1 cup divided by half a cup per serving equals 2 servings of vegetables and fruit. How many servings of vegetables and fruit are in 2 cloves of garlic? This is not going to contribute significantly enough to our vegetables and fruit food group. We can consider all spices to be negligible. Now that we have calculated our servings, our next step is to add all of our food group servings together. Let's add together our servings of vegetables and fruit. Our recipe had 3 large carrots, which equaled 2 servings of vegetables and fruit, 3 medium potatoes, which was 6 servings of vegetables and fruit, 2 celery stalks, which counts as 4 servings of vegetables and fruit, and 1 large onion, which counts as 2 servings of vegetables and fruit. So in total, our servings of vegetables and fruit adds up to 14 servings. We only had 1 food item that was a meat-and alternative, and that was the 1.5 pounds of moose meat, which we calculated to be 9 servings of meat and alternatives. Here is a summary of our food groups. Our recipe said that it should serve 12 people, so we will take each food group serving and divide that by the number of people we want it to serve. So here we see that our 14 servings of vegetables and fruit divided by 12 people is 1.2 servings per person. We had 0 servings of grain products and 0 servings of milk and alternatives. But then our 9 servings of meat and alternatives divided by 12 people equals 0.75 servings per person. So if we serve this moose stew at lunch, does it meet the guidelines? Our guidelines stipulate that at lunch each child must be offered all 4 food groups. An offering is at least half a food guide serving. So for vegetables and fruit, we have 1.2 servings per person, which meets our guidelines for vegetables and fruit. We do not have any servings of grain products or milk and alternatives, but for our meat and alternatives, we have 0.75 servings per person, which meets guidelines for meat and alternatives, but our meal as a whole does not meet guidelines. Let's take a look at how we can adjust our recipe or meal to ensure the children receive a sufficient amount of milk and alternatives. We can meet guidelines for fluid milk by offering half a cup of milk with our moose stew at lunch. Now, how can we adjust the recipe to ensure that children receive a sufficient amount of grain products? We can meet guidelines for lunch by offering baked bannock with our moose stew. In case you would like to make this recipe, we have included the instructions for moose stew here. Not a big fan of math? Our Smart Menu app will take care of these calculations for you. Make sure the number of staff and children in your early learning facility is up to date on the registration page. Enter your recipes in our system and they will be saved for your use the next time you log on. Let's move now to shopping. How can we use the nutrition facts tables? We can often make healthy food at home. Prepackaged items can be more expensive and less nutritious. However, they can save lots of time. The following slides will help you compare products and select the healthier option. Food labels consist of the nutrition facts tables and ingredients lists. The nutrition facts tables compare nutrients of interest by looking at the %DV or % daily value. Make sure the serving size is similar. Use Canada's Food Guide serving sizes to compare products. For example, one serving of grain products is 30 grams or 125 milliliters for cooked pasta or rice. The ingredients list lists allergens in packaged food. It lets us know the quality of the product. For example, if you are wondering if a grain product is whole grain or refined grain, it will be in this list. New rules for the nutrition facts tables came out December 14, 2016, but companies have 5 years to update their products. Serving sizes will list what is usually eaten at one time so you can more easily compare items. New rules include adding % daily value for sugar and potassium. Nutrients required on the new table are in the example to the left. All others are optional. For the ingredients list, ingredients are listed by weight from most to least. The new ingredients list must now group sugars together, and food colors must be listed by name. Make sure you check the ingredients list if you have children with allergies at your center. The new list summarizes them at the end, but some companies are still using the old list, so you will have to read through all the ingredients. % daily value. The % daily value can be used to compare nutrients in different packaged food items. A general guideline is that if an item contains 5% or less of a nutrient, it is considered a little, and 15% or more is a lot. If sugars do not contain a % daily value, simply replace the grams by the percentage, because the reference is 100 grams. So the % daily value, why does it matter? Not all nutrients need to be on the nutrition facts table, only those of concern that most people need more or less of. So the nutrients we want more of include fiber, which is found in whole grains, whole vegetables and fruit, and beans, legumes, and nuts. Fiber is important for a healthy digestive tract. Iron is found in meat and alternatives, and it is needed for blood and growth and development. Calcium is found in milk and alternatives and dark green vegetables. It is good for strong bones. Potassium is found in vegetables and fruit and helps lower our blood pressure. The nutrients we want less of include saturated and trans fat, which are found in fried food, baked and butter, ghee, and margarine. Saturated and trans fat should be limited to lower the risk of unhealthy weight gain and heart disease. Sodium, or salt, is found in processed food such as sandwich meat, canned goods, and snack items. Sodium should be limited to lower the risk of high blood pressure, heart disease, and stroke. Sugar is found in sweets, baked goods, juice, and other flavored beverages. Sugar replaces healthy nutrients and contributes to dental caries and unhealthy weight gain, which can lead to heart disease and type 2 diabetes. Let's go through an activity to compare products using the % daily value. Let's compare two products using the % daily values. Here we see that the option A has 40% fiber, whereas option B only has 4% fiber. We also can look at sodium on this nutrition facts label, whereas sodium for option A is 2% and sodium for option B is 6%. So the better choice here is option A, as it has less sodium and more fiber. For the examples on the following slides, when choosing between options A and B, which product is the better choice? Let's compare two types of the same brand of crackers. On the left, we have Wheat Thins Original, and on the right, we have Wheat Thins Multigrain. First, we will compare reference amounts, as these have to be similar in order to compare products. For both of these products, our reference amount is 20 grams, so we can move on to the next step, which is to compare nutrients of concern. The product on the left has slightly more fat and iron and slightly less fiber, protein, and sodium. For early years children, we are not concerned about fat, and since they will be getting protein sources elsewhere, it is not a concern when choosing a cracker. We would choose the original Wheat Thins as it has slightly less sodium and sugar. Just a note to remember that a multigrain does not equal whole grain. Multigrain just means different kinds of grains combined in one product. They can still be refined, and sometimes they can be whole grain. So we must look on the ingredients list to see if the words whole grain are present. Neither of these products are whole grain. The next products we will look at are yogurts. So we will compare Activia Vanilla with Activia Plain. So go ahead and look at the nutrition facts tables, and once you make your decision as to which one's the better choice, go to the next slide for our answer. First, we will compare our reference amounts, which are both 175 grams. So now we can compare the nutrients. We see that the amount of sugars in the flavored yogurt are almost twice that of the plain yogurt. Therefore, we would choose Activia Plain. You can serve plain yogurt with fresh or frozen fruit for a naturally sweeter taste. Now let's compare our choices for cookies. We have arrowroot biscuits on the left and Oreos on the right. So take a few moments to look at the nutrition facts tables, and then you can see our answer on the next slide. First, we must compare our serving sizes. Since they are different, we cannot compare nutrients. So we need to make them similar. On the next slide, we take cream-filled chocolate cookies and make their weight similar to the arrowroot biscuits. So what we know is that 5 arrowroot biscuits equal 33 grams and 2 creme-filled chocolate cookies equal 23 grams. So how many creme-filled chocolate cookies will give us a comparable weight close to 33 grams? So let's find out the weight of one cream-filled chocolate cookie. So to do this, we take 23 grams divided by 2 cookies equals 11.5 grams each. Next, if we want to know how many cookies weigh 33 grams, we can take 33 grams divided by 11.5 grams per cookie, gives us 2.9 or 3 cookies. So 23 grams divided by 2 cookies equals 11.5 grams times 3 cookies equals 34.5 grams, or 23 grams divided by 2 times 3 equals 34.5 grams. So now that the reference amounts are similar, we need to use the same conversion for all nutrients. To do conversions for all the values in the nutrition facts table, we take our value of 23 grams and divide it by 2 and multiply by 3, or 3 over 2 equals 1.5. So we can multiply all values by 1.5. See the next slide for our new values. So now that the nutrients for the creme-filled chocolate cookies have all been multiplied by 1.5, and now that our serving sizes are similar, we can look at fat and sugars. So we see that arrowroot biscuits are the better option. When comparing canned vegetables, we want to choose those that are lower in sodium. So this might be on the front of the product's label with the words low sodium or no added salt, or you may have to read the nutrition facts tables. Just a note is to rinse canned vegetables and beans before preparing and eating them to remove the excess sodium. Let's go through some budgeting tips. First, we want to start with menu planning. Start by planning meals around leftovers and food you already have to prevent waste. When grocery shopping, keep to the outside edges of the grocery store to avoid prepackaged items which can be less nutritious and more expensive. Bring a list to the grocery store and stick to it. Only swap out items if they are from the same food group and you can get a better deal. Meat can be expensive, so try choosing meat alternatives as they are a nutritious and affordable option. Buy in bulk if possible, but make sure you have enough time to use it before it goes bad. Choose generic instead of brand name products. Look at flyers and coupons ahead of time, and grow your own vegetables when possible. Let's practice some cost comparisons. First, we will look at two different kinds of cereal. If whole oat cereal is $2.88 for a 500-gram box, but bran flakes are $6.88 for a 1.22 kilogram box, which is the better deal? We can calculate the price per kilogram for each. For whole oat cereal, we would take $2.88 divided by 0.5 kilograms, which equals an unknown amount over 1 kilogram. Then $2.88 divided by 0.5 times 1 gives us our $5.76 per kilogram. For bran flakes, we have $6.88 divided by 1.22 kilograms gives us our unknown amount per kilogram. So then $6.88 divided by 1.22 times 1 gives us $5.64 per kilogram. Therefore, bran flakes are slightly less expensive in this example. Let's do another cost comparison, this time with yogurt. So if yogurt is $2.99 each for one large 750-gram tub, but individual yogurts are $6.99 each for 24 cups at 100 grams per cup, then which is the better deal? So again, we will calculate the cost per kilogram. So for the large tub of yogurt, it's $2.99 divided by 750 grams, which equals $2.99 divided by 0.75 kilograms. Then $2.99 divided by 0.75 equals $3.99 per kilogram. For the 24 cups, we have $6.99 divided by 24 cups times 100 grams, which gives us $6.99 divided by 2,400 grams, which is also $6.99 divided by 2.4 kilograms, which equals $2.91 per kilogram. So the individual cups in the large pack are a better deal. We will do one more cost comparison, this time with bell peppers. If a 4-pack is $3.99 each for a 1-pound bag, but an individual pepper is $3.79 per pound, then it is still a better deal to buy bell peppers individually. Let's take a quick look at vegetable gardening. Gardening looks like a lot of work, but if you get the children involved, it can be a fun activity for everyone. Involve children by letting them help decide what types of vegetables to plant, teaching them how a plant grows from a seed, and letting them turn the soil with small garden tools and pick the weeds. Some seeds need to be started inside, then moved outside. You can also buy plants that have already started to grow. If you are new to gardening, start small with one raised bed, for example, or one pot. Ask your community dietitian, local farmer, or parent volunteer for gardening advice to find out if there's a seed exchange near you and if there's any funding you can apply for. You can watch the video at the following link to see the benefits of involving children in gardening. Let's review this gardening calendar to help us with planning a garden. So for the months from January to March, before purchasing seeds, draw a map of your garden for an idea of the number of seeds or plants that can fit in the available area. Draw in anything, for example, garages that might cast shade on the plants to determine the ideal location for plants. Next, order or purchase seeds to be planted during spring. Then, from April to the beginning of June, purchase additional soil and seeds if required. Clean the area from last season's debris, and at the end of May or beginning of June, after the danger of frost is over, then you can plant your seeds. In June and July, water 1 inch per week during dry periods and weed regularly. Monitor for insects and infections. At the end of July, beginning of August, you may consider planting another set of quick-growing vegetables, such as lettuce and radishes. Then from August to September, it is time to harvest your vegetables. Clean and store them depending on the type of vegetable, typically in a clean, dry, and cold place. Then prepare your garden for next spring. Consult the following resources for examples of healthy, kid-friendly recipes. Alright, so we covered a lot of information in this learning module. So remember, do not try to make a lot of changes at once. Change takes time. Start small and make little changes. Otherwise, you and the children will be overwhelmed. For example, when offering a new food to children, it is still important to offer a familiar food as well. And another example is that if you have not gardened before, start with a small plant or bed of herbs indoors, or start with planting only one type of plant, such as carrots, and see how you do with that. Hopefully, you and the children will be motivated to add a second vegetable the next time.